Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about the ARC content management system for clickability stations migrating to ARC. I am Jason Old, Gray Television's digital content manager. You can reach me anytime at jason.old@gray.tv with any questions following this training. I'm going to be showing you 4 tools in the ARC system. The first tool is Photo Center, and that's our photo management system. Second tool is Video Center, that's our video management system, and Composer, which is what you will use to publish stories to your website. And finally, we'll be talking about WebSched, which is a scheduling and planning tool. So first things first, I'd like you to follow along with me in the tool as we go along. There will be portions where I will prompt you to pause and practice some things yourself. You'll need to make sure that you can log in to ARC, and you do that through one login. You'll use your regular Gray credentials, and when you go to one login, you will look for the Gray ARC card. And when you click that card, it will open Okta, which will allow us to then click on the ARC publishing tool. One other thing to keep in mind here as you're training and as you're practicing prior to your launch and even after your launch is you'll want to use the sandbox environment. And you know you're in sandbox when you look at your ARC screen and you see the yellow box at the top right next to your name that says sandbox. So first we'll talk about ARC Photo Center. I'm going to show you how to upload images, edit images, create galleries, create light boxes, and I've got a link in the chat that says practice images. And if you need images to use for practice, you can go ahead and go to that Google Drive site and grab some of those images to use. Otherwise, you can use images from your computer. So let's go to Photo Center. So this is what the home screen looks like in ARC. You can also see a menu on the left-hand side where you can get to the tools that you need to get to. You'll see some tools here that you won't have access to, but you should have access to: Composer, Photo Center, Video Center, and WebSched. So let's go to Photo Center. And the first thing I want to do, you can see right now that I am in production, and that's what you'll be in when you're uploading images and creating galleries for your live website. But we are going to move to Sandbox. So in order to do that, you click the ARC logo at the top left and change your environment to Sandbox. And now we see that we're in Sandbox, and I'd like for you also to make sure that you're in Sandbox as we move forward. So first thing I'll show you is how to upload an image. At the top right is a blue box that says upload images. If you click that, you get a couple of templates to choose from. You will always want to use the Gray Station Images template. The GDM sponsor graphics is for corporate use only. So if you click that, then your computer will open up and you will be able to choose images for uploading. So if I go to my Photo Center folder here and find an image that I want to upload, I'll go ahead and click that and click open. And we can see that we have now one image selected. And if we click upload, we can watch the progress bar and see that now it's 100% uploaded into the system. From there, an image editing page will open up and you will see some fields that you can fill out. Now there are required image fields to be able to publish an image. Those are headline, caption, credit, keywords, and usage instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and put my headline in, and this is just going to be a test image for now, so I'm going to put test image here. And for the caption, you'll want to use words that describe what your picture is depicting. Search engines cannot see pictures, so captions help search engines understand what the content is. So in this case, you'll want to use keywords or phrases that you believe people might search for, and that will help for search engine optimization. I'm just going to put in this is a test image for now. And we will then move down the page and we will see that the credit is also a required field. And this is important because you will be able to see images from all of the other stations that are on ARC in your instance, meaning all of the clickability stations that are migrating over into ARC, and eventually all of the stations that are in ARC. So stations will need to know if an image is cleared for use for them, and if there's no credit in there, they won't necessarily be able to know the origin of that image. So in this case, I'm just going to put my name, and I'm going to scroll down here to keywords. Keywords are also important for search engine optimization, so keep in mind the words or phrases that people might use to search for your content. And then in this case, I'm just going to put test for now, and you do have to click the plus button. And now we see we have one keyword saved to this image. And then finally, usage instructions. In most cases, your usage instructions could be none or free to use, meaning that anyone can use them. Or if you do have an embargo or a case where your station can only use that, you can put that in here as well. And now we are finished filling out our required fields, and I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Return. And now our image is saved and available for use in Photo Center. And that comes up in the Images tab. When you click the Images tab, you can see all of the images that are available to you for use. You can also search here on the left-hand side. Plenty of filters over here to use, including published, unpublished images and date ranges. And you can also search up here using keywords. Now, if you need to edit your image, you can go ahead and hover over it and click the pencil. And that's going to bring up your image. You can choose a focal point, which focal points become important when you have images that may not display correctly on your website section fronts or in other places. For instance, if you have a tall mugshot, we've all seen the images of somebody's nose and chin, but not their eyes. You can fix that using focal point. So I'm going to go ahead and click Set Focal Point, and I'm going to click right here in the middle and click Set Focal Point. We now have a focal point set. So that's going to be the center of the image when it displays in different places on your website. As we go down here, you can also restrict your image, meaning if you have an embargo or something along that same line, you can go ahead and restrict it so people know that it's restricted. You can crop your images. So when you hit the crop button, the original image crop here comes up. You can change your aspect ratio to 16:9. You can change it to square, which is good for social media, or you can go free and change the crop yourself. So let's say I want to crop everything out here except for this cool tree here in the middle of the ocean. I go ahead and click crop. And now I've got a new image, and this image is not overriding the original image in Photo Center. This has actually created a new image. So you can see here, this is a derivative of this image ID. Now, when you do that, your original headline and caption and keywords and everything else that was saved with that image comes over, but you can edit that if you need to just by clicking in the box. So I'm just going to call this test image cropped. And I'm going to save it. Now, before I save it, I just want to show you the other buttons here. You can download an image directly from Photo Center. So if you need to grab something from Photo Center for a video or for social media, you can go ahead and download that to your computer here. So once I hit save, the image is saved. And if I go back to the Images tab, I see now that we have two different images, our original image here and our new image here. And you can see now this red button tells me that this one is unpublished. So I'm going to go back into the image because you can't use any unpublished images in stories or anywhere else on your website. And I go down here and change this to publish and click save. And when I go back to the images now, I'm going to see that this is a published image and this is a published image as well. I'm going to give you time to do this yourself here in a little bit, but I do want to show you that you can upload multiple images at the same time. So again, I click the blue button at the top right and choose Gray Station Images. And then I select my files, and in this case, I'm just going to choose 3 files here to upload. I see I have them selected. I click upload, and now I see the progress bars that we are now 100% into the system. It will bring up your familiar image editing tool. However, now you see the 3 different images here. So if you have this image selected, you can go ahead and put your headline, your caption, your credit, and your keywords in. Or if for whatever reason you'd like to add the same headline for all 3 of the images, you can do that too at the same time. So we'll call this test image 3. And over here, you see if you hover over this little button here, it says copy to all, meaning if I click copy to all now, all 3 of these images, you can see as I scroll through them, have the same headline. And you can do the same thing for caption and credit and so on. And when you're finished, you would hit save and return, and then you would go to images, and then you would see all those images available to you. You can also create galleries, or as we call them sometimes, slideshows in Photo Center. And in order to do that, you go to the Galleries tab and click New Gallery. And we give the workflow status here a publish, and we call this a test gallery. We also would put a description in here. This is the description. And we scroll down and we then see websites. Now we will talk about provisioning for websites a little bit later, but you'll need to choose your website in this case in order for it to be published and be assigned to your site. So if you click edit, you find KCRG as an example, and then you want to assign it to a section. You'll want to choose a section which most accurately depicts what type of gallery it is. In many cases, or most cases, it's going to be news, but it could be sports, it could be weather. So you want to choose that, and then we see that we have the appropriate website and section on the right in the right-hand column here, and then we click save. And then from there, we can add images to our gallery. We can either upload images if we don't have them in Photo Center already. So to do that, you would click upload, select files, and you would choose, we'll just choose a couple of files here. You would choose a couple of files and then click upload. And we will see now that these files need to be edited. They need to have a headline. They need to have those required fields in order to be saved in Photo Center. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and go back, and we will start our gallery again. And instead of uploading images this time, we will go ahead and add images directly from Photo Center, meaning they're already in, they're already edited. So if I click add images here, it will bring up my image list, and I'm going to go ahead and choose a couple of images here. And you can either click the box at the top left or click the plus button on the image. And we'll just add 4 or 5 images here. And once I have those all chosen, I click add to gallery, and now I see at the bottom of my gallery, I've got my images in my list. Now, you can move these around, but you do have to save first. So if I click save now, system tells me that this is successfully saved, and now I can actually drag and drop my images. So if I want this graphic to be first in the gallery, I can do that, and I can move them around. And we also need to choose what we call a hero image, which is the image that displays in stories or on the website as the first image when someone comes across it as a summary. So if you can do that by clicking the little star here. And now we see we have our hero image chosen, and we have our images in the correct order, and we always need to save and publish once we're finished and ready to go. So now that I've saved that gallery, I can go ahead and open the galleries by clicking the gallery tab and see all the galleries that are available to me. And I'm going to go ahead and show you this test gallery. This is the one that we just created, and we see that our images are in order, and we have our hero image chosen. Now, lightboxes are similar to galleries, except that they don't display on any part of your website. They're not discoverable via the public. So in other words, this is a way to organize images on the back end. For instance, if you have several marketing images that you use throughout the year, or mugshots or things like that, you can organize them in a Lightbox to make them a little bit easier to find than what you would use when you're searching in the images. Because again, you're going to eventually see hundreds of thousands and millions of images available to you from stations throughout the company, and that may make things a little bit hard to find. So a Lightbox is a great way to organize your images, and you create that just like you would a gallery. You click New Lightbox and you go through adding the information, and then you add your images there. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and you can go ahead and hit pause. Rewind a little bit, watch a little bit of this if you need to again, and go ahead and upload some images and create a gallery in Photo Center. And once you're finished, come back here, unpause, and we will continue on with the training. Okay, so hopefully you've gotten some good practice in Photo Center. Photo Center is probably the easiest tool out of the three to use. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, and I'm also going to share with you a master training document that has some shorter walkthroughs on all of these tools that we're looking at. And that is in the chat box right now and available to you. It's called Master Training Document. So now we will move on to Arc Video Center. I'll show you how to upload videos, edit videos, clip videos, and live stream. I do have a folder in the chat right now for you. It's called Video Center Practice Videos. Those are just 3 short videos that you can use if you don't have any videos on your device. All right, so we will go back to Arc. So we'll go back, and I'll go back to the home page. And at this point, we will click on Video Center. So Video Center opens up. It shows you all of your available videos that you've published, and then also your VOD videos from your newscast recordings. We will start here by creating a new video. So at the top right of the screen, we see that familiar green box. We will click Create New Video, and now we have to choose a website and a type of video and a section. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use KCRG as an example. I choose KCRG, and then I will choose the type over here, which will always be KCRG News, or in your case, wherever you are and whatever your station is, you will see your station and news. And when I choose that, it will also auto select the section for me, which would be new. So if I click create, it opens up a new screen, a video upload screen. And if I hover over upload new version, I can see what types of files Arc will accept. And if I click upload new version, this will then take me to my computer where I can find the video that I want to upload. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use this first sample video. I choose it and I click open, and now we can watch the video download into the system. If you'd like to move on and move somewhere else while this is happening, you can do that. You can click this box and get a notification via email when encoding of the video is done. Videos usually upload at 2 times speed of their total time. So if a video is 30 seconds, it will take about 15 seconds to upload. So we will watch this progress here and see when it's ready to be encoded and edited. So now we've seen a blue bar pop up on the right-hand side of the screen. What I like to tell people is these blue bars, there's a lot of language in there that you won't understand, but the blue bars allow you to know that something is happening. So if you keep an eye on your screen and you watch the blue bars continuously pop up, that means the system is working and something is happening. You may see some prompts to take some action with those blue bars, meaning refresh the screen, but the bar that you'll want to watch for is a yellow bar at the top of the screen. That's going to be the one that's going to prompt you to take a lot of the action when uploading and editing your video. So in this case, we will need to give the video a title before we can move on. So I'm just going to call this is a test video, and we should also fill out the blurb for the video. The blurb will show, will display underneath the video on your website. You will not use caption. I know we talked about captions earlier with Photo Center, but in this case, the blurb is what displays with the video. So I'm just going to say this is the blurb. You'll want to be descriptive with your blurbs and make sure that, again, you include words or phrases that you think people might search for, because this can help with search engine optimization. So when you have these two fields filled out, we'll see that nothing is happening here, but we can save. And once we save, that's going to kick off more action by the system. So now we've got that yellow bar here popping up at the top that tells us that something is happening and gives us the reminder to refresh the screen. And again, we've got these blue bars popping up, which, you know, a lot of this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but again, this just means that something is happening. I'm going to go ahead and click refresh because the yellow bar is telling me to do so. And now it tells me I can just edit the metadata, and the video files are processing. And we can see that down here where it says encoding status. It says submitted, which means the file is processing. I will not be able to create a thumbnail until the file is processed. I can see here I've got my type as KCRG News and the primary website and the section all taken care of. I've got my title here and I've got my blurb. A lot of these other things you won't necessarily need to use, but you can add some keywords here, which again, important for search engine optimization. For people to find your content online, you need to have metadata with it, and you need to have words or phrases that people might search for when looking for your content. We can also change closed captions down here. We want to keep request vendor captioning here on. We don't usually ever want to disable closed captions, but there may be a reason to do that. You can also turn off your pre-roll if you need to do that. Not something that we recommend in most cases, but it is something you can do. And so now we see our blue bars popping up again as we're on this page, which again reminds us that something is happening. So I'm going to scroll to the top and see the yellow bar has now updated to tell me to refresh the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the screen. I can see now that my encoding status is completed, which means the video is now ready for edit, and it is in the system. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and create my thumbnail. Thumbnail is important for when people come across your video on the website, that there is some sort of image displaying for that video, and it's just not a black screen. So I'm going to go ahead and click create thumbnail, and that's going to bring up the video for me. And if I start scrubbing, I can see now that I can stop this scrub somewhere in the video and create a thumbnail from that image. So I'm going to go ahead and just stop on this detention center sign and click next. And now, because this will save an image in Photo Center, if you need to use it, I'm going to go ahead and give this a headline. This is a thumbnail. And I'm going to give it a caption. I won't be able to save unless I do give it a headline and a caption. I can also add a credit here, which is important, and I'm just going to call this KCRG because KCRG shot this video, and then I'm going to click Save Thumbnail. That video, image from the video will again be available in Photo Center for me for use, but I can see now here that this image is the thumbnail for the video. If for whatever reason I need to now clip this video, meaning if I've uploaded a raw video that I need to clip a little bit and edit for the website, I can also do that on this page. and that is found right here with the scissors. I can also download the video from Video Center into my system if I need to use it for something else by clicking this download button. So I'm going to go ahead and click clip, and this brings up the clipping window for me. It will come up as 16:9 default, which is what you'll want to use for your website. However, you can change this if you need to a vertical video, a 9:16 video, or a square video. Square video is good for social media, so you may need to use that setting. But we're going to go back to horizontal 16:9. Down here in the title, I will see that my headline has persisted over into the clipping window, but I have a dash clipped version. That's so this video does not overwrite the original video in the system. So in this case, I'm going to give this a different headline and call this is my test clip. And now we go to editing the video itself. So the play button will play from the exact endpoint for the video. So if you click play, you can go ahead and click play and you hear the audio and you see how it started. And the play plus button will give me 3-second lead up to the end of the video. So I can see and get a feel for how the end of the video feels. So if I want to now edit this video, I can do it a couple of different ways. One, I can scrub to the place where I want to start the video. And let's just say I want to start it here at this mugshot. So I can scrub and get almost where I need to be. And then I'm going to scrub here the end. And let's just say I want to end it when this mugshot ends. So I'm pretty close to where I need to be. However, if I need to fine tune that even more, I can go ahead and change the frames on the time code for the in point and the out point by going back 10 frames or by going up 10 frames, 1 frame and 5 frame, and I can also just change the time code in the in and the out. But for timing purposes, let's just say this is where I want the video to be clipped. I'm happy with the audio. I'm happy with the video. I go ahead, excuse me, and I can click save as new file and I can click save as new version. Most of the time you'll want to use save as new file because that's going to create a new file and won't overwrite anything with the original video. And if the original video is assigned already to places on your website, a new version of the video, which is here, would overwrite all of those videos. So for instance, if you clipped a video or uploaded a video and assigned it to several stories and several pages, and then you realized, oh, geez, I need that to end 5 seconds before it does end. You can go into the video and clip it. And then if you click save as new version, that version is going to be the video that's going to play in your stories and on your website throughout the site. So it's a nice way to, if you have a video assigned several different places, to fix it. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click save as new file. So now we see this familiar version of the video editing screen pop up, and we can see now that this version is completed as well. And now it's time to publish. So over here on the left-hand side of the screen, we see platforms. You're always going to publish to the master platform. And you can see when I clip that, it allows me to then publish selected. So if I click publish selected, it tells me the video is going to be published, and I click update, and now it's going to save. Now the video will process for just a bit to be published and ready to go. And we can see here, again, our blue fields popping up here on the right-hand side, which tell us that something is happening. And we've got our yellow box here at the top, which is going to be the box that's going to give us instructions to take action. So now we see the video is unlocked, and we need to refresh, and we can see that now the encoding status is completed. And if we go to our video list, we can see now that our test video is published and ready to go. You will also be able to clip your newscasts in Video Center. So we have a test pseudo newscast test running every day at 3 p.m. here in Sandbox. And if I wanted to go in and clip that for web stories or for videos on the website, I can go ahead and find that here in my video list, either by searching over here, searching by keyword, or just finding it in the list. And I'm going to go ahead and click daily 3 p.m. test. And that one comes up. And I see now that I can edit it from there. So that's the way you would edit your videos from your newscast. They would be called newscast name dash VOD. We can also live stream in Video Center. And so we would do that by going to live events, and this screen will look much different for you in production. Again, we're in Sandbox, we're in the training and practice environment, but you will see timelines here for your station, and you will see your scheduled recordings in here once you get them set up, and in most cases those are going to be your newscast recordings throughout the day, and they will persist and they will be scheduled. I want to add a live event. I do over here using our familiar green button. And if I click that, I then start by choosing my website. And right now we do not have any websites available in Video Center for assignments. So we're going to go ahead and just use gray, and we'll use VOD recording here as our recording for our live stream. And then I'm going to call this a test live stream. And I'm going to put my blurb in. I'm going to choose my start time and my end time, and I can do that just by clicking on the date here and changing our time. So I'm just going to make this start here right now, and I'm just going to end it here in about 15 minutes. So I have my start time and my end time created. If this was a recurring event that you were setting up for record, you can go ahead and change this to hourly, daily, weekly, and this would be how you would set up your newscasts. And I've got an asset in the master training document on how to select and update and schedule newscasts. So now we want to have an event thumbnail, and this is a generic Washington Post thumbnail, but I can go ahead and change that by clicking search and upload images. Now the image will have to be in Photo Center already. So if you plan on using something for that particular event, you can go ahead and choose that here. And then I click select. And I click save. And eventually that image would show up as the thumbnail here if the save worked. Now you will want to select a stream, and these streams look different than what you're going to see in production. You are going to be pulling your stream from SyncBack, and SyncBack will have two different streams available for you. There will be your website's primary stream, which would be the stream that you would be using for newscast and off air. And then it would have your secondary stream, which would be a stream of your choice, whether you're pulling it from the field or from a live cut-in that you're doing. You would just have to source that and set that up on the SyncBack side. So to be clear, to set up a live stream, it needs to be set up in SyncPanel first, and then you would create the event in Video Center, and this is for recording of the stream itself. So we would set that up again. We would set that up in SyncBack, and then we would set up our stream here to record it. So once you have your website and your title and your blurb and your start time and your end time set, and any tags that you need to use or keywords that you need to use, you can go ahead and then click save. After you choose the stream, click save, and we now see that we've got our test live stream here starting now, or starting 3 minutes ago and ending in 15 minutes. And that will allow for that live stream to be available for clipping for your website in Video Center. Now the stream itself, again, is going to be coming from Syncpanel, and that will display either on your /live stream page or your /live stream 2 page, which should be familiar to Clickability users. That's the stream, and that's the page that you would link to or that you would use for sharing on social media or linking to in your stories at this point. Now, you also have a 24/7 live stream running. Okay, so you can go back up to 1 hour to clip from your live stream that's running if you need to clip something and post it on your website. For instance, if you had a cut-in from a breaking news story on air and you weren't able to set up for recording, but you want to go in and clip that for your website, you can do that by either double clicking here on any event in the live event list and then clicking clip, and now that brings up the live stream. And I'm going to turn that down just a little bit here. And we can now see our live stream, and it's running. And again, this will be running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you can go in anytime and go back up to 1 hour to clip that video. So if I click the scissors, I can see now that I have the availability to, let's try that one more time. So now if I go in, I can see that the video here is still loading, but I would be at the current time here at the end of the video, and then it would go back 1 full hour for me to go back and clip. And you would clip just the same way that we clipped that test clip earlier, by scrubbing and previewing and using your time code to get exactly where you need to be. And once you had that chosen, you can go ahead and click save, and then that would become available when you publish it. That would become available for assignment to the site. You can also live clip by going back to our video list here and clicking create new video, and we choose our website here, KCRG News as the type, and then the section autofills, and we click create. And from there we see next to the upload new version button, which we used earlier, is the live clip button. So when I click that, I can choose where I'm clipping from. So if I'm clicking from my primary, which will happen in most cases for you unless you weren't able to set up a recording for a secondary stream, such as a press conference or a breaking news situation, I'm going to go ahead and use what's live here. And we see here now that we can again put our title in and click the scissors, and we have the availability here to clip from that stream. And these streams act a little funky in Sandbox because of the testing and the setup that we're doing, but you will be able to do this in production once you get up and running. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and allow you here to hit pause again and go in and work with some video, upload some videos, and look at the live streaming capability and clip some videos as well. And we'll see you back here in a little bit. But go ahead and hit pause, and once you come back, we'll get started with Composer. All right, so hopefully you had some success with video in Video Center. We're going to now move on to Composer. And Composer is what you will use to publish stories to your website. So back on the home screen of ARC, and I have now clicked Composer, and I can now see all of the stories that are available to me in ARC. And you will see thousands of stories available to you in this system. You will be able to see stories from all of the stations that are on the current ARC platform that you're on. And those at first will be all of the clickability stations. And eventually we'll get all of the ARC stations onto the same ARC stack so that you will be able to share content across all stations. So in this case, we are going to go ahead and start by creating a new story. So again, familiar green button here at the top that says create new story. I click create new story, and the templates available to me come up, and you will see your station in the production side of the platform, but not on the sandbox side. I'm just going to use KCRG as an example. And if you don't see your template available here, you go ahead and search your station here and it will pop up. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose the KCRG template, which is automatically going to give me a KCRG dateline and copyright. What you'll need to do first is add your story headline. The working headline is going to be the story headline. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got some text saved here that I'm going to go ahead and put in. So I'm putting in my working headline, and now I'm going to add my website. And this is again part of the new provisioning measures that you will have to learn, but I'm going to go over that in a little bit, but I will show you here how to add a website for your story. So you go ahead and click add website, and this should look familiar from the other tools that we've gone over, but I'm going to choose KCRG. And in this case, and in many cases, news is going to be what you use, but you may use sports, you may use News National or other sections that you have available. And you will see more sections available if you do have them on your website in production. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose news, and we can see that this is now going to be assigned to the news section. I can also add sports if I want to. And other sections here. Your primary section, you will always want to be the most specific. So in this case, let's add Eastern Iowa as well. I'm going to go ahead and choose my primary section as News Eastern Iowa. And that's important because the ads, if there are any ads specifically sold for that section or for that product, this will help determine which ads are served to that story. So we're going to go with News Eastern Iowa. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. You can ignore the planned ready time. You can ignore the will have. This is for planning purposes, but most don't use this, and you don't need to use this to move on to the next tab. You will also need to add an author, and you will have some homework to actually create your author page. I'm going to see if I'm in the system right now, and I don't think I am, so I'm just going to leave the author blank at this point. But if you could either click add me once your author page is created in production. This will not work in Sandbox, or you can start typing your name in here and you may see it in the drop down. But in this case, author is not important. Distributors down here are important for stations that have sharing agreements or other agreements where the content is only meant to be available to them and not the rest of the company. Most of you probably won't have to worry about this, but for instance, if a station has a sharing agreement with a local newspaper and the newspaper says, well, you know, you're only allowed to publish this content on your website, then you'll need to use a distributor down here that would be custom for you. And you would see WXXX, you know, Tribune Chronicle newspaper. And once you choose that, that's going to hide this content from the rest of the company. So once you have your working headline in and your website created, your website selected, you go ahead and click Save. And that will now put the beginning of the story into the system, and it will automatically move me from the planning tab here to the compose tab. You cannot move from the planning tab anywhere else until you have your working headline and your website and section chosen. So now we are in the compose tab, and this is where you will write your story and create your story and add any type of element that you need to put into your story. And if you remember that template that we chose when we first created the story, we can see that now we've got the Cedar Rapids, Iowa KCRG dateline and the copyright already here ready for us. I'm going to go ahead and grab some text that I had taken from this story, and I'm going to copy and then paste it in. And at times when you copy and paste, you may see some extra paragraphs in, and I'm just going to clean this up for a second and show you then how we move on. So this is how your story is going to look. This is a what you see is what you get type tool. You can enter a sub headline if you would like to. And then move down to the text. So you have lots of opportunity for different types of content items in your story. In order to create a new content item, you can go to the end of the text or the other content item and hit enter. And now we see we have several options here on the right hand side to use. You can enter a block quote, and the citation would be the person's name, Mr. Jones. And then click out of it, and we see that we have a block quote in our story. We can also add an image to the body of the story. So if I click image, it will open up Photo Center. And from there, I can upload an image, or I can choose an image myself that's already uploaded. I'm going to go ahead and click the plus button and click select. And now I have an image in the body of my story. And there's no limit to these. You can add as many as you'd like, wherever you'd like. Now, you can also make an image clickable. So if you have an image for a contest or something that you're running on your site and you want people to be able to click through to that contest page on your site, you can click edit info. You can change the caption if you need to that persisted from the original image. You can change the title. And here's where you would put your link. I'm just going to put google.com in here. So now that image is actually clickable, which is a pretty neat part of this system. I'm going to go ahead and go down and hit enter, and we're going to go to another content item, and now I'm going to add a gallery to my story. So if I click gallery, it's going to open Photo Center and my list of galleries. And we're going to select the gallery that we created a little bit earlier in Photo Center. I see that it's selected. I'm going to hit select, and now I have my gallery in my story. So as we scroll down here, I'm going to go ahead and now I can add a video to the body of the story. So if I click video, it's going to now open Video Center. And there, you will have to have your video uploaded in Video Center before adding it in a story, because you cannot upload a video directly from this window. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose this video that we used, that we clipped a little bit earlier, and I'm going to click select, and now I have my video saved in the body of my story. If I click edit info, I can change the title and the blurb for the video. You cannot make videos clickable like we did with our image, but you can change the title and the blurb, and this will not change the original title and blurb for the video that's already in Video Center, but it just changes the metadata for the video in your story. All right, so if we move on and look at other content items, we have HTML. So you can add HTML code in this area for any type of embed or something else that you'd like to embed into your story. You can do that by using this block, and it comes with a sample block. So when you click edit, you will need to get rid of this code and start fresh with your code. If you leave that code in there, it'll say sample HTML block, and you don't want that with your embed. All right, so moving along, we can also add an interstitial link. So we'll add just call this Google, and it will display as such. And we can add, oops, pardon me. So now I've put a content item in there that I don't want. This allows me to show you how to get rid of those content items. So you just click on it and hit delete, and it's gone. I hit enter, and now I've got my row of content items that I can add again. And here we can add a social URL. So let's actually go to facebook.com. And as soon as it loads, I will grab a link, and all we need is the link to any public Facebook post. I'm going to grab that link here and go back to our story. And it's telling me the social URL has no value because I didn't put one in, but now I'm going to put one in. I click update, and now I have a Facebook post embedded into my story. We can do the same thing with Twitter. So I'll go to social URL here, and we'll go to twitter.com. And as soon as it loads, I will grab a public URL. So again, all you need is the link here, and go back to edit info and add that in, click update, and now I have a tweet embedded into my story. And we can add more tweets and Facebook posts and YouTube links and so on and so forth into the story. So the next content item is a table. You can add a table to your story. You can add code, which in most cases you're going to use HTML and not the code button. You can also add a correction. So if, for instance, you need to correct or clarify some sort of information that you had published prior, you go ahead and choose clarification and say this is and click update, and now we'll see here that this clarification is highlighted a little bit and italicized. We can also add a pull quote, which is similar to a block quote. This is a pull quote. Smith. And we can certainly also add more text if you just hit enter and just start typing text. You can add a divider to your story. Here, this line here across the text, or you can add a link list. And link lists are only available right now to the clickability stations that are moving over to ARC. If you're a legacy Raycom station or a legacy ARC station and are seeing this and wondering why you don't have it, it's part of the new stack and you will eventually have it. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and say this is the list name. I'm going to choose primary buttons, 2 columns, and I'm going to put a link title here. I'm going to put a URL in, short description, and I'm going to add an image. And in this case, you can, again, either upload an image into Photo Center or choose one that is already in Photo Center. So I'm going to choose that one and hit select. And I've got my credit in here and I've got my information. I'm going to actually add one more link so we can see this is photo number. This is link number 2. Put a URL in here and just put Facebook. Description. I'm going to add another image here to make it stand out. And we'll just use this picture of this gentleman here and click select, update it. And now I see my link list. And so this is a way to highlight content in your stories that just aren't links. It allows you to add these clickable links and these images. So this this might be a way for you to add more interesting images to your story. So we've gone through all of these content items and you see how easy it is to add them and delete them from your stories. You can also grab those content items here on the right-hand side of your screen. If you click that, you've got interstitial links, social, list, table, code, link list, so on and so forth. You can add a heading if you wanted to your story, and you just basically drag it and drop it where you want it to be. This is a heading. We can add another paragraph here if we wanted to. New paragraph. And you can just sort of drag and drop those items. You can also see your story's revision history. So each time it's saved, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit save here. Each time it's saved, it's going to timestamp and save the name of the person or the email of the person who edited the story. So we can see here our story was started at 1:18 p.m. and it's the last edit was 1:29 p.m. And this is effective if you have some trouble with the story or you wonder how a story got changed and is being legally questioned or for whatever reason. There's a paper trail here and you can go back and see what edits were made to this story. So if I click on this 1:24 p.m., I will be able to see what's new and what's old at that time. And if I need to go back to that version of the story, I can go ahead and click restore this version and it will take me back to that story and I will lose all the changes that were made after 1:24 p.m. So we're going to go back. We're not going to make any changes here at this point. But I will also show you here at the top, there are other items that you can use. You can delete your story. You can print it to a printer. You can copy the whole story to your clipboard. You can clone the story, which means copy the story and it would copy it right into the system. You can undo and redo your changes. You can find and replace. You can change your different block types here. You can also change your heading style. You can float items to the left, right, and to the center. So for instance, if you wanted your text to wrap around an image, you can do that by clicking the image and then clicking float and clicking left. Now, I can only see this in the previewed story itself. I won't be able to see this in Composer. So it's often difficult to figure out how well a floated display is going to be as you do it here in Composer, but you do have that available. You can also enter special characters. So we'll just throw in a couple special characters here for good measure. And you can add a comment to a story. So if you're collaborating with someone on a story, I can go ahead and add a comment right here and say, you know, how does this paragraph look? I can comment, and then the person or people I'm collaborating with can go in and see my comment, take a look at it, and they can say, they can reply to it, and they can say, you know, this looks okay, but needs some work. And then we have all of these internal comments here in the story. And then you can also then delete the reply and delete the thread. I can also choose which headlines I want to be on which of my platforms. So if I go up to the headline, I see this view all button. And I can see that now my basic headline is the working headline that I entered earlier. I can place a new headline in here for mobile or for tablet or for web. So you do have a lot of capability here to really make your stories fit on your different platforms. I'm not going to make those changes, but you can also do the same for content items, content elements. So I can click channel, and when I'm on that content element, I can choose that it's going to be on, you know, let's say that we just want that paragraph to be on mobile and tablet. I can go ahead and choose that here. Those are use cases that many stations don't take advantage of, but they are available to you. I can also move a full item over to the clipboard over here if I wanted to. I can go ahead and be in this paragraph here and click move to clipboard, and now all of a sudden I've got this paragraph moved over to the clipboard and it's gone from my story. I can add it back if I want to. I can just drag it and drop it here, and now it's back. But I do have it saved in the clipboard at that point too, so pretty effective here. And then I can also delete elements either again by just hitting delete here or hit delete here. And of course, you can change the format of your text by highlighting the text and hitting bold or italicizing or underlining or even changing the color. So you can definitely do a lot, or you can also click you can create a link here by clicking the link button and putting the web address in. So we will move to the meta tab. Let's say we are happy with our story, how it appears. We can actually preview that story by clicking the little eyeball up here. And we can see now how this story is going to display on the site. And as we scroll down, we see all of our content elements. We see our paragraphs. We see our social embeds. We see our pull quotes. We see our lists. So that's a nice way to see how your story is going to display before actually saving it. So now I'm going to move to the meta tab, and the meta tab is where you're going to enter your description. Descriptions are important and required for display on your website. If someone is looking at your story on a section page, the description is also considered a summary, and it would tell people a little bit more about what the story is. And this is also important for social media, especially Facebook. Facebook is going to pull in the article title, the description, and the image. I'm going to add the description. SEO keywords also required. And as we've been saying throughout this last hour, you need to think about words or phrases that people would use to search for your content. Proper names, proper nouns, locations, those are all important to put into your SEO keyword field. And so we have our meta filled in and we're happy with it. And I'm going to go ahead and click save here, and we will move to the featured media tab. The featured media tab is important because you have to have an image with a story. So that will display on web sections and also at the top of the story if you do not have a video assigned to the story. So you start by clicking media type and choosing image. Image will always be basic, the media key basic, and then you click add media. And again, we can either upload the image into Photo Center here or grab an image that's already in Photo Center. And so I'm just going to go ahead and grab this image and click select. And now we can see that we've got our image as our featured media in the system. Now, if you don't have, if there's not a focal point set for that image, you can do that here. You can also change the title and the caption at this point. Again, this will not overwrite the original image, but it will just change the caption and the title for your story. Now, it's always best practice too, if you are able at all to include video in your story, you want to do that probably first and foremost through featured media, although you can add to the story body as we did earlier. But featured media will put the image between your headline and your published time and author and dateline, so prominently in the story. So to add video, you change your media type up here to video, and your image is going to stay unless you get rid of it. And you choose video, and video is always lead art. So once you have that chosen, click add media and it will open up Video Center. Again, you can't upload directly to Video Center from Composer. You need to have the video in Video Center already. So we're just going to use here this full weather video here. I'm going to click select, and now if we scroll down, we will see that we have our weather video assigned to the story. And I can change the title and the blurb here if I want to. So featured media, very important, very prominent in the story. An image is required and a video is preferred if you are at all able to assign a video. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And if I preview this story, we can now see that our video is prominently displayed between the headline and the rest of the story. So we'll go back to our story page. And at this point, if we're happy and we've proofread and everything's ready to go, we can go ahead and publish the story. Before you do anything else, again, you just want to make sure that you've got your primary website and section chosen and everything else looking like you want it to look. Now, if you don't have some of the required fields filled out, for instance, description, it will not let you publish the story. So when I click publish, it's going to give me a publish time, which is most of the time going to be now. The display time is something that you can change. Okay, I can change this to have a display time of last week if I want to. And display is important because display determines the order in which your content is displayed on your website. Meaning that if you have on your news page, the order those stories are displayed are tied directly to this display time. So the newer the display time, the higher up the story is on the page. The newer the display time, the higher up the story is on the page. So if you want to move a story on your news page or your sports page or another regional page, you would do that by going into the story, clicking update, and changing your display time. So if I want to have my display time for this one be 6 hours ago, 5-6 hours ago, I can change the time here and click submit. And now we see that I've got a display time of 6:40 a.m. This will not change the publish time, nor do you want to change the publish time. But the display time is something that you would change for your own content. So I'm going to go back actually to now. And in order to do that, you just click this lightning bolt here and it takes you back to now and you click publish. And now we see that our story is successfully published and will be live on the site within a couple of minutes. In order to get the story on your homepage, the homepage is the only page that is managed differently than the display time use on your other pages. And we do that using something called a collection. And so while you're in your story and after you have published it, you go over to this button called Web Sched Pitches and you click it. And then you click Add to Collection. And again, if you want your story to to display on your homepage, you have to do this. So again, go to WebSched Pitches, add to collections. So now that I hit that, I see that I've got my collections up here, and these are all tests, but they will be named the same in production for you. But because we're in Sandbox, we only have a few stations in here, but I'm going to go ahead and just go to my test collection at this point. But if I want to add that story to this particular collection, you go over here to the right and click the plus button. Don't click the headline, but click the plus button. So if I click the plus button, the system tells me that the story and with the story idea, the ID has been added to this collection. Now, when the story goes into the collection, it will automatically go to the top. And perhaps this is a story that's not something that would overtake your top story at this point. So you now want to edit that collection to move the stories around. So in order to do that, that's when you click on the headline of the collection. And now I see all the stories that are assigned to my collection. And I see here that my newest story that we just published is at the top of the collection. But let's just say I want my Hayden Fry Memorial story to be at the top. I just drag and drop. And let's say I want my new story actually to be in position number 6. So I just drag and drop. Now we've got some unpublished stories in here, and these stories will not display on your site. So if you have any unpublished stories in your collection, they will not display. Now, if I want this test Hayden Fry Memorial story to stay at the top for quite some time, and I know that other people will be adding stories to the collection, I can go ahead and click this pin. And now this story is going to stay there, and the new ones that come in will come in under this story. And in fact, you can pin several stories at the top if you don't want them to change. And then the new stories then would come in starting at position 5 and move the rest down. So at this point, I'm just going to leave this Hayden Fry story as the one that's pinned to the top and is the top story or hero on my site. When you make any changes to a collection, you'll always want to hit publish. If you don't hit publish, those changes will not display on your website. Again, if you don't hit publish, the changes won't display. So now I've got my homepage collection the way I wanted it to be. And again, this is going to be the way that you manage your homepage moving forward. And it's pretty easy to drag and drop and to pin content to the top. So I click done. I'm back to Composer, and I can go ahead and now look at my story list, and I will see my new story here right at the top of the list, published and ready to go. You can find your stories or other stories by using the search tab here at the top. You can search by created date, last updated, published date, display date. You can search different websites, and this is where provisioning comes into play. You will have access to all of the Digital Content Center content that eventually will be published to your site. For the first 20-25 stations, the Digital Content Center will not be publishing stories into ARC. You will have to copy and paste, but that's only going to last a couple of weeks. And once we get to a breaking point here with more stories on, with more stations on ARC and less on clickability, the Digital Content Center will start publishing directly into ARC. So you'll need a little patience, but it'll go pretty quickly. But once they start publishing, you'll be able to choose different websites and look at their content. So for instance, if I went to the DCC site, I would see all of the stories that they have published into the system available to me. I'm going to go to KYOU because I know there's some content there. And I will show you now how to provision a story for your website. And you can do that a couple of different ways. And I'll show you the way that is not necessarily preferred first, since we're in Composer right here. I will go to test forecast article. I'll click on it. And I can go into anyone's article. So you have to be careful if you're going into someone else's article that you don't change anything, or you don't go into a DCC article and change anything. You can also, if you are in an article, you can tie that article up for someone else's use if they need to go in and edit it. They will see a little lock button here on the story. So you can see here, I'm in this test forecast article. This tells me that it's locked. It tells me that someone is in the story. And if you hover over the lock button, you see the name of the person that's in there. If you have the appropriate privileges, you can actually go into that story and kick them out. Or you can go into that story and knock, and that will tell them that Joe Smith wants access to the article. So if they want to give you access, they can go ahead and save their changes and get out of the story and let you take over. So it's a great security feature to know that you cannot go in and have two people editing the same story at the same time and overwrite each other. So that's what this lock button is, and that's how you would use it if you needed to knock to get in. And I can't show you the knock right now because I'm the only user, and it isn't going to tell me that I'm the same person in the story. However, if you do go into the story to assign to your site, you can go ahead and do that by clicking the planning button. And now if we remember, we can edit our websites and sections, and this is where you would add your website. So if you click edit websites and sections, and let's say I'm at KCRG, I want to add this story to my news section. I can go ahead and do that by choosing my station in the news section. Now I see that it's published to 2 different stations, and I click save, and I see the provisioning happening right here. Now, the last thing I need to do is update the story before those changes occur. So now if I click update, you do not want to change any of these times for other people's content. The only reason you would go into someone else's story is to add your website or add a specific section. So again, when you click up the update, don't change publish time, don't change display time, but just simply hit update. That's not going to change the story. It's not going to change any of the information or this time. It's just simply going to add it to your website. And now any change that takes place by the originating station will persist to your site. You will not need to worry about making any changes to the stories. All those will come automatically. Same thing goes for Digital Content Center stories or stories from any other website on the Gray Arc stack, and eventually any other website in the company. Again, so you can find those stories just by scrolling through the websites over here. And if you leave the sections blank, then you will not be limiting yourself to just news stories or just weather stories. You can see them all. You can search that up here. You can look for stories within a period of time. You can look for stories by author name or headline text. And the last thing we'll talk about here is the source. So there will be 2 different sources that you can use. You will have access to AP content, which is under the source of ARC. AP content is under the source of ARC. Right now, we're not seeing any stories because we're not feeding content into Composer on the Sandbox side, but you will be able to see that in the production side. Or Composer, which would be stories that are published in Composer, and you can also just show only published here. So there are lots of ways to find content for your use. Now, you can also assign stories to your homepage using a different method where you would not go into a story and perhaps lock somebody out of their own story. And that is through collections. So collections is housed in WebSched, we got to it earlier through Composer by clicking the pitch to WebSched, and it took us directly to it. But I'm now going to take you to WebSched. And this is WebSched, and this is a very nice and effective way to find content, video, stories, and galleries you can find using WebSched. And you can use that using various search filters here on the left-hand side. You can also manage your collections in WebSched. In this example, I'll just show you, let's say we want to assign this particular story to our homepage, and I'm not at KCRG. So over here, I can preview the story and make sure the story is up to my standards for my website. I can look at the metadata on the right-hand side, see when it was published, see when it was pitched, see the story length, creation time, so on and so forth. And I can pitch to a collection. So in this case, I'm at KYOU, and I like this story, and I want this story on my homepage. I click the pitch button, and then I click add to collection. And now the collections will come up, and we will go to the KYOU homepage. And I'm going to click the plus button, and it's not found here in Sandbox, but if we were in production, it would work. And then I would go into my collection, and let's just say this Kirksville story was the one I added, but I didn't want it to be in the hero or top story position in my collection. Again, I would just go and drag it down a little bit and hit publish. And now my home page has been updated. So you can add content to your site in two different ways. One, using WebSched and the collections, and that's just for the home page. Again, collections just for home page. Or you can use your story list in Composer and find the story that way. Click on it, go into planning. Again, don't edit anything else. Go into planning, click edit websites and sections, find your website. In this case, we'll use KYOU again. And we'll assign to our news section. We see that here. We click save, we click update. Again, do not touch publish time or display time, and click update. So at this point, we're going to give you another pause here, and you can go in, and if you haven't been following along while I've been talking, you can go into Composer and add some stories and practice everything that comes along with Composer. And then we'll come back, and we've got just a few more things, and we will wrap up. So go ahead and hit pause and practice, and come on back. All right, so we're back. Hopefully Composer worked well for you. I have found it to be the most interesting and most fun tool on the ARC side. It certainly allows us to do a whole lot more than we could originally do for our sites. Okay, so a couple more things and we'll be finished. You do have a breaking news bar or banner on your website. Okay, it's going to display here at the top. We can see here we've got weather alerts, those are automatic, and then you've got a breaking news banner that you can use that lasts up to 60 minutes. And in order to assign a story to your legacy news bar, you would go into the story itself, and you would click planning, and you would edit websites and sections, and we will go to KCRG in this case. And we would add to the news breaking bar. And again, if this story is newer than 59 minutes old, it will display, but you'll want to make sure you have an update in there so it displays for an hour. Now you also have sorry about that. You also have what's called an alert bar, and that's this yellow bar here. So again, we see the breaking news bar, we see an alert bar, we see the weather alerts. The alert bar is yellow, and it will stay up as long as you have a story assigned to the /news/alert bar section. So this would be used for things that you would like to keep up there longer. For instance, if you have technical difficulties or a specific section that you want to highlight, on your site, but these bars will display on your site as long as you want them to, the yellow alert bar. And you do that the same as you would do any other assignment. Go into the story, go to the planning tab, click edit websites and sections, find your website, and then you would use the /news/alert bar section. Again, you'd click save, then you'd click update, and you would then click update without changing any of the other information in the story unless you wanted to. So now some homework. You will need to create your own author page in production. Again, if you do it in Sandbox, it's not going to copy over and persist to the production environment. So this would be the only thing at this point that we would want you to do in production. And I've got some instructions in the master training document that I have in the chat. You will be able to find how to update your author page and make sure that you've got it into production. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and contact me. I've got my email in the chat. I've got the digital support email in the chat if you do have technical problems. Again, I've got the master training document that has several pages and short, more snackable videos that cover everything that we went over and more. In addition to a walkthrough on how to update your weather page. And anything else that you're looking for. So thank you for your time. Again, this document link is in the chat. The support links here and follow-up question links are in the chat. And we are going to call it a day, and good luck.